welcome everyone back to Galactic Reviews. This episode, we're going over the first season of Loki. And in the first season, it starts out right after Loki gets the Tesseract from time traveling of the Avengers in Endgame. It's really all convoluted and doesn't need to be as complicated as it is. So Loki takes the Tesseract, disappears, then the TVA shows up, takes him prisoner, and thus the story of the season is from there. Honestly, it's really complicated and I don't like it. Look, the storyline could be better. It's
Yeah.
not terrible, but it could be better. Yeah, that's about it. There's my synopsis. It could be
All
better.
right.
Honestly, I would probably give it a 7 out of 10.
You want to explain why?
I enjoyed the first, like, 4 episodes. It wasn't bad. Then episode 5 and 6 came out, especially 6. It was really just seemed forced to me. Far-fetched, kind of forced. Didn't really go in with the whole storyline they had with the first few episodes. I expected where they were going with it. It just didn't seem like they executed it well.
Hmm.
To me, it was still a little slow and forced. So that's the reason why, really.
I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. For the most part, I really enjoyed it, but I thought that it was a little bit crammed. I think they could have used more episodes, and then also it was just a little boring at times. Like episode 2 and 3, I know that those were just kind of like filler episodes, but they were a little boring to me. So that's why I don't give it a full 10. Payson, I'm excited to hear what you're gonna say.
I'm gonna give it a lower rating. As a show as a whole, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. Now, granted, there were some good parts in there,
I was close.
like some of the other variants of Loki that show up later on in the season are amazingly well done. At least to me, they seemed amazingly well done. Like you said, Micah, episodes 2 and 3 felt like filler. And for me, the show shouldn't really need that, considering that it's only 6 episodes.
And it's the first season at
Yeah,
that.
but I did like how they were leading up to a villain from the comics throughout the season, and unlike WandaVision, they actually gave us that villain instead of just make leading up saying they were leading up to a villain, and or hinting they were leading up to a villain, and they never really led up to it. It's one of those shows where at points it felt like an absolute dredge to get through. Like there were just so many boring parts, more so than exciting parts. Like the end fight scene. I know you were complaining about the choreography throughout like episodes 3 and 4 with the fight scenes. I thought the last one was done really well in episode 6. Zach, me and you were actually talking about that
To me, it
yesterday a little
reminds
bit.
me what they did like with Mortal Kombat. They put all their effort into like the first fight scene, and in this case, the last fight scene, and did nothing else.
Yeah, and you really got to see him fight as Loki would fight in that scene instead of
Well,
just
to some extent.
to some, like, not completely, but to some extent. If he wasn't quite like one of the variants that I liked very much. But yeah, I've got more complaints and more appraisal, but they go into spoiler territory. So we will now head over into spoiler territory for the series Loki season 1, and you have been warned. So does anybody want us to go ahead and say what they liked about it before I get into what I disliked about it?
I think that they developed Loki's character a lot more with this, which I liked. I liked Mobius a lot.
Honestly, he kind of carried this TV show for me for a lot of it.
Yeah, he was great. Let's see. I thought that the Loki variants were really cool, like you were saying, Payson. One thing that I didn't think I
There's
would
only
like.
one there's only one variant that I really don't like,
Oh,
and ironically it's the second main variant in this series, but whatever. The female one.
I was like, the second main variant?
like,
Sylvie, whatever.
a lot, a
Sylvie,
lot
I
of
worded that
variants.
weird. I forgot we're in spoiler territory. I
Spoilers.
thought Sylvie sucked. Let's move
So
on.
I like. I guess he would be the imposter instead of Kang, since there's like two of them, right? It's like the end guy. I think he's technically the imposter or something like that, but his variants are Kang.
No, I think they're all Kang.
I
Like
don't
he is
know.
Kang. He
That's
said
not
he
what I've
was
been seeing.
He said he was a conqueror
Yeah, but
at
I
the
think
beginning of the
the
thing.
imposter is a variant of Kang. It's like one of the good
I,
ones.
I see what you
I
could be
see what
going for.
I see what you're
And they
saying,
dress them
but
the same too.
it's still Kang. It's still like it.
Yeah,
I see
I
what you're
mean it's
saying,
like
but
the
it's still
variants with
Kang.
Loki.
It's
It's like the
it's
variants with Loki. They're different variants, but they're still Loki.
yeah,
This might
it's
not
still
be
Kang.
The main
Oh, well,
king, the
yeah, no, I,
conqueror,
I see
but
what
it's
you're saying.
still yeah, it's still King. So
Yeah,
no, I
it's
agree with you though.
And then the other thing that I like that I didn't really think I was gonna like is that it left us, at least me, with more questions than it did answers, which sets us up for a lot in the MCU, especially with the state that the multiverse is in. But that might be a dislike of yours, and I assume it is. But I kind of like that because it's like I don't know what's gonna come next. It's all chaotic.
I mean, I like it if it's like an established like thing that's gonna have a sequel in it that's gonna get the answers to it. But the thing is like it's much like I compare it this way. Star Wars Episode 4. You had A New Hope. You had questions in there, but it did not affect the story as a whole. Whereas much like Force Awakens, you had so many questions that the sequel affected that movie so much so. You get what
I
I'm
feel like
driving at? Like
I feel like
it's
there was only one main question in that whole series, Payson.
like
Who
what
is
what
Ray?
it shouldn't leave you asking more questions than answered. And I think that's what the series did. And
Maybe.
for
I mean,
how
I can it if
I
it
mean
all depends. To
in
me,
some
it all depends
instances,
on how they execute it in their next
yeah,
season.
and I think they also did a very poor job in execution as they did not most of the series was essentially them just either walking and talking, them sitting and talking. I can explain it like very simple. They had something good going, and we talked about this yesterday, Zach. They had something good going with the 2012 Loki being brought back, and you're no longer having that other Loki, the Loki who had a completed arc and actually had a very decent arc from villain to somewhat hero, at least in the eyes of his brother.
Hmm.
Um, and it is an amazing art, mainly because Tom Hiddleston did such a great job, and also because it was very well executed and very well thought out. At least I hope it was well thought out. If it was a fluke, then they fluked it up really decently. But in this one, they take it all away and then try to give you the very, very cheap version, the Cliff Notes version of the character from the 2019 or 2020 version, whichever one Infinity War came out. They tried to give you that version of Loki because they made him go. They had something really good where it's the Loki that just came off of losing in New York and still had an ego trip that and wanted to take down the Avengers and then Thanos, because I'm pretty sure that was his plan anyway, because he had two Infinity Stones by that point if he would have won. They took that Loki and then tried to quickly make it into the Loki that everybody loved that ended up dying. And they tried to just rush it. And it felt like a cheap version of the character throughout the whole series. Throughout the series, you never really get to see him use much of his magic. The only times you do is when he's not really doing a whole lot. Like he changes his costume only like once. Now he does do stuff. I think the most that he did was
He mostly
was in
just uses
episode
conjuring, and
yeah,
that's it.
pretty much. He conjured up himself a suit in episode 3. He dried himself in episode 2. In 5, I think the only thing he conjured up was a blanket for Sylvie, because Sylvie conjured up a blanket for him.
He didn't conjure up the blanket. He conjured it up for himself, and then for her,
Hmm.
because she can
Oh, he
only
did?
use enchanting. That's her
Oh, yeah, I
only
forgot
ability.
she's that weak. I forgot she's that weak.
I mean, enchanting is honestly like the enchantress. That's
Yeah,
mostly all she.
I know.
That's
That's all she really can do, but she's also
think of how
supposed to be a
powerful she
Loki.
is. I mean, do you understand how much you can do with manipulating one's mind? That's
I
the
know, and Loki was able to do that in Avengers by manipulating the minds of Hawkeye. He tried it with
Ryan.
Iron Man, but
Think
his
if you
arc reactor.
manipulated. Now, the real question: could you manipulate Hulk?
I mean, he probably could. I mean,
It's two different people.
yeah. No, there was just so many problems with the way they executed it. I think the one time you do see the 2012 version of Loki use magic in a somewhat more proper way is when he and Sylvie are fighting, and using the magic while fighting. It's not completely in its rawest form, but he's still using it, which he hadn't been doing at all when he was fighting to get the timekeepers out, which makes me wonder why didn't they use that before, but
Well, he couldn't
it
use
is.
magic while he was in the TVA.
I'm trying to think if that's true, because didn't he have to conjure up his daggers?
No, he did that
No?
before he went in. You can't use
Okay.
any magic in the TVA.
Alright. Well, okay, I
They said
stand
that in
corrected.
episode 1.
No, I thought that was because they had the neck thing.
No,
Okay, then that's
because
my mistake.
he tried to use the Infinity Stones and they don't work.
Yeah, I don't know. You were complaining about that too.
It's, why are there so many when there should only be one set of Infinity Stones, which was
Yeah.
specified in Endgame?
Captain America returned them for no reason.
It'd just be from different timelines throughout the
Yeah,
map.
but even then, that would then break the thing that they did in Endgame, and that's what you were talking about, Zach. How that breaks the
Well, also,
continuity.
also the whole thing is for this is that there's only one timeline. That's the whole purpose of this season. Is there's one timeline.
Yeah. Well, not anymore.
Well, not
Yeah,
anymore.
well, not anymore, but
Fair enough.
I mean, the series is a lot of different things where it just destroys everything that, like, especially when it does the whole thing of King the Conqueror basically made everything happen by free will. So Doctor Strange never really looked into 40 million different multiverses or different kinds of ways to look into it. That was just what King let him see. Nobody ever had free will until now. So everything was destined to happen. That just ruins to me, that just ruins everything because that's taken
That
away
in
every
that one
character's
choice,
choice.
in that one choice, Iron Man had to defeat Thanos was all because Kane the Conqueror just let him have that one chance.
Yeah, and even then that was stupid because all Doctor Strange had to do was just take out the time stone, just do this real quick, and then he would have gone back to being Tony Stark, nice and dandy, would still be living with Pepper Potts and his daughter. Back to Loki. I liked the guy who did Kang, the actor. I thought he did a really good job acting
I did too.
for what they gave him to act out. My problem was, to me, that was not Kang, and I know it was supposed to be because it was referenced all throughout the thing. I don't know if he ever name dropped his name, but
I don't think he did.
he essentially basically gave it as he was King the Conqueror, and that's what they were going for anyway. I don't like how Loki basically kissed up to Sylvie every single time, basically from episode 4 on. He was just kissing up to Sylvie until she basically threw him away because she couldn't trust him, even though he had been doing nothing but gain her trust all throughout that thing. Oh, you guys can chime in and tell me to shut up anytime.
Oh, I was just enjoying
I'm just
the
listening.
view. Yeah.
Because I mean, it's just stuff like this where it's just they put so much bullcrap in that isn't necessary. Like that one line about him being bi. They wrote in that one line in, and that had nothing to do with the plot. It was just for pandering,
I mean, it didn't
and
have
that's all it was
anything,
for.
but still talking about the mythology of Loki, he didn't really care.
Yeah, he didn't really care. To him, it was not. It's not for pleasure. It's for what he wants, and he all he wants really is power, and he'll do whatever he needs to do to get it. And also, it's kind of weird that he's falling in love with himself.
Well, that goes to
Not
the
really.
narcissism thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not really a
I,
surprise.
I mean, it's not really a surprise. It's just a little bit awkward, and we're supposed to take this as like a true romance thing. It's still awkward as heck. The one thing I did like was Old Man Loki. I'm gonna call him that. I don't really care about classic Loki. I think Old Man Loki sounds way cooler. He stole the show for me as the real Loki when he sold his backstory on how he got to where he was, his costume, the way the actor did
Hold
his
on, hold on,
portrayal of that
hold on.
Loki.
You're telling me he's the real Loki and not Alligator Loki?
For an alligator who can bite your arm up to here and then take off the hand part that's down here and you still not feel it, I mean that's pretty cool. But
He was using some advanced magic.
I still liked Old Man Loki when he like was going using all his magic to conjure up Asgard and the way that he went out like like the villain Loki really was, laughing in the face of danger. I thought that was cool. Liked Mobius, Owen Wilson. Basically, the thing that carried it for me, made it decently worth watching. Renslayer, whatever her name is, she's just annoying. It was annoying, but you didn't really feel for the character at all, and you
She was
and
mostly just there to advance the plot. I feel like the plot or the purpose of the TVC
and
or the
yeah.
TVA.
Well, also that, and I don't really like how the way Sylvie got out was just stepping on her foot, even though she's supposed to be like a trained soldier, was just stepping on her foot, biting her hand.
I mean,
I
do you
think
know
that
how
could have.
much damage that can cause to the top of your foot? You can crush the whole top of your foot.
Zach, this is the thing I hate about you. We were talking about this. You were on my side. You had all these complaints as well, and now you're just flipping him back onto
Hey,
me.
look, it doesn't mean I don't think of new things.
Yeah, Payson, join our side.
I don't want to join your side. This show sucked.
I didn't hate this show. I didn't really enjoy it either. It was more of a mutual thing. I watched it because I had to. I'll just put it at that. The only thing I didn't like is they pretty much destroyed Loki's character for me.
Yeah.
The the mischievous god. He was like that in episode 1 and 2, and then slowly he became like a hero or an attempt at a hero. And that's just not really his personality. I understand that's what they want him to be, but that's just not his personality. So I'm a little disappointed in that. And to see the full power of his ability with classic Loki, and then this variation of Loki that we have, it's just a huge gap in
Mm.
the the potential they have that they can use that they just waste.
Well, another thing we did talk about was also the theory on Kid Loki, because we had speculated that the only thing that made him a variant was that he killed his brother Thor. However, we speculated that it was an accident, not on purpose. And I forget what you said that in one of the Thor
It
movies.
was the only reason I made mentioned it was, yeah, it was in the Thor movies. I think it was around where he said Loki pretended to be a snake and he hates snakes. So he became terrified, and I think he hurt himself in that scenario. I don't remember if he said anything or not, but all I can think of is he accidentally died in that trick. I mean, there's still a whole bunch of other opportunities where Loki tricked him and he would have accidentally died because of it. Because that's how Loki is. He'll push someone so far to the edge in a trick that they are most probably going to die.
I think the CGI was good in some areas, like the alligator actually looked decent and realistic. The I forget what scene it was where like they're going through the galaxy or whatever. I thought that scene looked amazing. I had no idea what it was for, but I liked it. Looked amazing. I liked when Kang brought that little liquid metal thing and made stuff appear with it. I thought that looked cool. I don't know. I wish there wasn't so much just sitting and talking. I wish they would have actually tried to show us the stuff that they were trying to convey to us instead of just talking
Yeah, but I think that's going to come
about it.
to set up a lot.
But usually the thing is, they usually set up more in season 2 and not so heavily in season 1. Season 1 is usually just to bring you on board,
Yeah.
but this was really just to drive the next season,
Oh,
which was a
I think
gamble
it's
for
more
them.
so. I
Well, it was
think
a
it's
gamble
more
for
so to
them,
drive the next phase because
since it's Marvel, they can play off that gamble because they know people are going to watch it anyways.
Yep.
well, I mean, after some of the shows are getting more, I would say propaganda-ish. They're starting to get more in the propaganda and woke side. Some people are starting to just back off.
Like you.
I'll probably still watch maybe a few things here and there, but I'm not going to be as
That's
invested as I was during
that's
Infinity War
that
and
I
Endgame.
was about to say that's precisely why they can do it, is because they know they're still going to get people to watch it because it's still the MCU, no
I
matter
mean,
how they write it.
I mean, I'll probably watch. I'm only gonna watch Spider-Man 3 because it supposedly has Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in it, and I
The
like
best Spider-Man ever, Tobey
Andrew
Maguire.
Garfield. I want to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because I like the first two,
Hmm.
and I would like to see them actually do a decent Adam Warlock, which is what I was hoping for in Infinity War and Endgame. There was just some things where I felt like they just dropped the ball on an easy layup, and they could have done this very, very easily. They had such an easy way just to appease appease both fans and still making a good story.
I mean, they can
They
still
could,
technically fix it with season two, but
I don't
the
know,
thing
they,
is, it was mostly just why make season one so slow
yeah,
when it's supposed to be the main thing that gets you into a show is the first season
yeah. It was just,
so that you continue watching.
yeah.
I mean, season two, they can still bring in like other characters like Doctor Strange and everything to help fix the multiverse and everything,
Well, I think this was mainly just to set up those
which
movies.
wasn't the main purpose of the Doctor Strange movie to help prevent I forget his name.
Dormammu?
Wasn't he just someone who went between multiverses and 8 planets?
Yeah, I know this. There's so many like different continuity errors that it's starting to get kind of weird because I know that's something you were talking about yesterday. So, I mean, if you want to go ahead and talk about that a little bit, you can.
No, that was pretty much it. It was just a contradiction they had that they can still fix in season two with Doctor Strange just showing up, but it defeats the whole purpose of the sorcerers because that's what they do. They protect the multiverse.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they have some continuity errors. I mean, it could be fixed, but I mean, some
We'll just have
people,
to wait and see
yeah. All right,
who's
that
ready
is it for Galactic Reviews. This is a one-time thing
until season two comes out.
until season 2 comes out, and then we might do something again.
And the real question, will Micah be there? Tune in next time.
Or
I
will
might
his variant, or will his variant show up?
Yeah, shirtless Micah.
All right, see you next time on Galactic Reviews.
Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button.